I'd like to bring this meeting to order. You all stand for the pledge and a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance. I'd like to start with a roll call. Laura?
Cooper? Here. Dr. Faulkner?
Here.
Dr. Green?
Here.
Mrs. Heater?
Here.
Mr. Huron?
Here.
Mr. Reichard?
Here.
Mr. Vognitz?
Here.
Mr. Klauser? Mr. Brookhart?
Here. Item 1.3, Board will take action to approve the meeting minutes from the March 15, 2023 Board meeting as presented. Could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Roll call on this.
Mrs. Cooper?
For the minutes.
Oh, yes. Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Dr. Faulkner?
Yes.
Dr. Green?
Yes.
Mrs. Heater?
Yes.
Mr. Huron?
Yes.
Mr. Reichard?
Yes.
Mr. Vognitz?
Yes.
Mr. Klauser?
Yes.
Mr. Brookhart?
Yes. 2.1, Board Administrative Announcements, Reports. Finance and Budget Committee, Mr. Vognitz.
In March, we had to cancel our finance committee.
Okay. No Finance Committee in March. Academic Affairs, Mrs. Heater.
Yes, we had a meeting on April 12th. We talked about the long-term curriculum cycle, which looks very organized, presented by Jason and Molly, how to make sure that all the curriculum is reviewed and they implement the best, highest quality ones. So that was excellent. Also, they talked about a elementary literacy update. They did talk about having a digital access where the community would know about their curriculum. So that is something in the works that is definitely important. Also, they showed an assessment schedule and shared all the dates and the ranges, which was key for all. And they also gave a little bit of an update of the high school scheduling. And it seems like that's moving along very well. They had all students' requests, and we're working to get that all organized for the students. And then our next meeting, we will have a mental health task force directly after it. And things are happening in Danville.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Mrs. Heater. Buildings and Grounds Committee, Mr. Reichard.
Yes, we had a meeting on 5:30. We talked about contract of the warranties on the track. We also talked about the power washing of it and realigning the track where there's some tears, and there's some stuff some kits that got that we can re-tack it back down. So that was talked about there. We also talked about the middle school. They're trying to come up with a nice plan to put a little roof over the back for the people to come out to the freezers, walk-in freezers, so they don't have to stand out there in the rain. And then the playground update was they're going to take up the rubber surface and put that playground mulch in at a much cheaper cost.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Reichard. Athletics and Extracurricular Activities Committee, Mrs. Cooper.
The athletics meeting was actually canceled. The next meeting will be May 4th at 6:30.
Okay, great. Health and Wellness Committee, Dr. Green.
So our first actual meeting of the Health and Wellness Committee is coming up as the Mental Health Task Force is concluding their investigations and discussions. It'll be presented formally after Academic Affairs to the Health and Wellness Committee for us to hear the full recommendations of the task force. I want to welcome Dr. Faulkner, who will be sitting on the committee with me and brings a degree of expertise I sorely lack. I just want to also acknowledge all the stuff that SPM has been doing. Fantastic things recently. It's pretty amazing to see the students doing these things. And that the board itself really appreciates the efforts of the community and the actual task force and being thoughtful about the things that we can do to improve the lives.
Okay, thank you. Health Insurance Committee?
So the fruits of that will come out as we see, hopefully, the contracts for both the teachers, contracts for staff.
Thank you. Columbia Montour Votech, Mr. Clauser.
Yeah, the search for the director at VOTEC is still ongoing. The big construction project out there continues, and it appears that it's a little ahead of schedule. I know they wanted to start the new welding building 3 weeks earlier. They came in and asked permission to get that started. And the graduation for VOTEC is July 2nd at Bloom University, 7 p.m.
Thank you. Excuse me, the CSIU will deal with that later. EITC, Mr. Huron.
I have nothing to share tonight, Wayne.
Thank you. Head Start, Mr. Reichard.
Yes. Head Start, I was informed that the pre-K counts grant was submitted today, so that's moving forward. And there's a parent event on Thursday. The topic was farm to table and nutritious training. And the Geisinger pediatric dentist completed dental screens on the children who have not had a dental checkup. So that's done.
Thank you, Mr. Reichard. And the CS Trust has not had a meeting. Those meetings are quarterly, and we look forward to having our business manager. He'll soon be part of that, that committee. Okay, CSIU representative, are there any questions about any of the committees or any of the reports that were given tonight from anyone on the board? Okay, thank you. CSIU Rep 2.2, the board will take action to appoint, we have a blank, as the CSIU representative for Danville Area School District. This was Dr. Johannes Katachu, and I talked to Dr. Faulkner. We discussed this last month. He expressed willingness to serve in this capacity for the remainder of this year until we reorganize in December. Is there anyone else that would like to be nominated for this, or can we place Dr. Faulkner's name out here for a vote? Okay, all right. So we're going to revise this. The board will take action to appoint Dr. Faulkner as the CSIU representative for Danville Area School District, and I need a motion to approve, or do we need to modify anything here? Is Jennifer on?
It has a blank right now. Do we need to officially modify that to say Dr. Faulkner?
What we have to do is insert Dr. Faulkner's name because it was already on the agenda.
Okay.
That's what we did.
You wouldn't have to do any sunshine.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jennifer.
So
Oh.
moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Comments, questions? Okay, roll call, please.
Dr. Faulkner,
Yes.
Dr. Green,
Yes.
Mrs. Heater,
Yes.
Mr. Huron,
Yep.
Mr. Reichard,
Yes.
Mr. Vognitz,
Yes.
Mr. Clauser,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Brookhart.
Yes. 3.1, enrollment report from the superintendent.
Great. Good evening, everyone. Board members, you have some detailed enrollment data in your folders, but here you'll see our numbers. There are a few grade levels that have had a change from last month of like 1 or 2 children, but we're very steady in all 4 buildings here in the district as well as the VOTEC. If you go to the next slide, you'll see where Danville students are in terms of our non-public enrollment. Also, those numbers have held very steady since last month. So then we'll just move into the superintendent's report. And the board did develop goals in each of the areas for which we have a committee. And so today I just wanted to address 2 of those briefly. The first one on the next slide, you'll see our mental health goal. And so the mental health goal that the board approved is to prioritize the recommendations of the Mental Health Task Force by providing mental health support for students at the Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 levels, professional development for teachers and staff, and communication efforts and support for parents in the community. So as Dr. Green shared earlier, on May 10th, we will sort of have a double header, if you will, in terms of committees. At 6:30 p.m., we'll have an academic affairs committee, followed by our mental health task force presentation at 7:30. So although a lot of the task force work will be ongoing, the task force has been meeting for about 5 months now and is ready to prepare recommendations to share with the committee and then with the board as a whole. Just in terms of what you'll hear that evening and moving forward, when we're thinking about tiered levels of support, we use that terminology a lot in academics in the school district. Tier 1 represents what do we do for all children. So that's like curriculum we choose for all children. Tier 2 represents what do we do for children that Tier 1 supports are not enough for. They need something else. And then Tier 3 in turn would be Tier 2 supports were not enough. We have some children that need more than that. So the Mental Health Task Force has examined all 3 levels of support for children, as well as what professional development looks like, and as well as what it looks like to be working with parents in our community. I look forward to that presentation on the 10th, and also just want to thank every member of that group. We have administrators on that team, teachers, community members, parents on that team, and it's been just a tremendous effort. We also have many high school students that have voluntarily come to share at some open times that we've had to get their input as well. So just huge shout out to everyone involved in that task force. The next goal you'll see this evening is our finance goal, and I wanted to share this because our budget proposal will come next month. So analyze the financials of the district to ensure that we provide the best education possible for all students at a reasonable cost to district taxpayers. So you've seen over the last few months our very close examination of our expenditures and our revenue forecast for this year. So we'll be putting those pieces together in the month of May at both the Finance Committee and then at the board as a whole. I'm going to turn things over to Mr. Moser for a moment, and he's going to speak about our plans for summer school this year. For those of you that are community members here with us this evening, we did share that historically, or not long-term historically, but the last couple years, we've had a little different look at summer school because we've had COVID funding for that. So we did share in early March, like, hey, warning, summer school will have to look a little different because our funding source is different. But now we're ready to share a little more details about that.
So in working with building administrators over the past several weeks, we have come up with a plan that basically certainly targets the students that would be invited for summer school. In K through 2, 3 through 5, that would be students who have displayed gaps but have also displayed some level of academic gaps that we feel reasonably that the 4-week session would help to supply supports in terms of continuing to make progress. Same thing at 3 through 5 and 6 through 8. So it will be, we will send notification to students. It's not based on did they pass or not. So I know a lot of times summer school is thought of if you're in, being retained, you go to summer school. What we're doing is really treating it more of a true academic experience where we believe students with the right supports and the right approach can continue to make academic gains in areas where they have not done so throughout the school year. Obviously, 9 through 12 at the high school level, it will still be credit based because when you hit 9th grade, you are working on completing credits for graduation, and those credits have to be obtained and earned so that you can matriculate through and eventually earn graduation status. So that will be one that as we wrap up and are working on developing staffing for summer school, that will remain very, very consistent with how it has looked in the past, although I would say K through 8 will look different. And I think that there's some excitement among teachers that I've talked to, that I've heard from. I think building administrators have definitely had a lot of great ideas in what that is going to look like and how we're going to actually run those sessions so that they are meaningful academic experiences, combined with obviously continued connections throughout the day while students are there.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ryan, you can move to the next slide. So one of the things that I'm also trying to use this time to share with you all are just things that are happening with the Pennsylvania School Boards Association or things that could affect our finances here regionally. So I did just want to share about a few kind of large land purchases in the Danville community that could have an impact to our tax revenue. So it's just important, I think, as board members that we stay aware of those kind of things. First, you may have read in the paper that Geisinger is partnering with Acadia Healthcare to purchase land that was originally going to be in the borough, and they've now made a deal with Mahoning Township for that. So we'll see what those tax implications end up being, but certainly something that we're keeping an eye on. There's also a large land purchase at the intersection of 54 and 80 that we're keeping an eye on, as well as the Drive organization has sold a considerable amount of land to a lumber organization. So Mr. Moser and I will certainly stay on top of things and make sure that our revenue reflects those changes that happen here in the community. So just wanted to share that with board members. Another thing that we're keeping an eye on is you may be aware that there was a case with the Pottstown School District. They brought a case against a healthcare organization called Tower Health, claiming that what they were providing was more of a business than a nonprofit. The judge did rule in favor of Pottstown School District and created criteria in which to describe whether or not a healthcare organization qualified as being a nonprofit or not. That case is currently being appealed, but something that we'll keep an eye on just because a lot of property here in the Danville community is connected to a healthcare organization. Just kind of important financial things, I think, for us to stay on top of as board members. And then if you go to the next slide, I shared this last time, but you will see it today as a voting item. So the majority of school districts in Pennsylvania have adopted a resolution asking our General Assembly to meaningfully reform the PA charter school funding system. And so just wanted to remind you that we currently in our budget are spending about $800,000 for regular and special education cyber charter placements. And the way the law is written right now is very much in favor of the cyber charters as opposed to the sending districts, and is extremely costly. And their per pupil ratio can be much higher than what we are here in the school district. So that resolution is on the agenda this evening, and by passing that resolution, you're just willing to say on behalf of the Danville Area School District that we would also want the General Assembly to take a look at that charter school funding. And then you're going to see on our agenda this evening, we do have a vote on our proposed collective bargaining agreement with the teachers union. And Mr. Moser is going to share some of the financials in regards to that would just, I think, be helpful for the community to be aware of. But I certainly just want to publicly thank Dr. Green and all of our school board members for their leadership, their respectful interaction with the teachers union, and just their diligence to, I would say, they represented all of the interests of the school district. So as school board members, they have to be responsible to taxpayers, but we ultimately want to serve students and teachers well too. So thank you to Dr. Green for his leadership. I also would just like to thank Mr. Keller for his leadership on the teachers union and all of the teachers who are representatives for just the respectful nature in which they engaged in all of these conversations too. It was an extremely positive process. So I just wanted to publicly state that. And I'll turn things over to Mr. Moser to talk about some of the finances.
Yeah, if we go to the next slide, please, Mr. Ryan. So anytime, there's a new contract, what we want to do is make sure that we kind of project out the implications of said contract and how things are negotiated and what impact those increases in salary or measures taken in terms of how to finance healthcare. What kind of projections can we best make in terms of the impact of the district for the length of the contract? So what we're looking at here is based on projections, and I think that's important. What we've done is provided a year-by-year analysis of projections from next fiscal year, 23-24, through the end of the proposed contract, which is 28-29. You will see under new expenditures that there are two scenarios presented. Scenario 1 on each slide includes forecasts based on our current staffing numbers and placement. Scenario 2 on each slide for each year includes forecasts based on a reduction of 8 professional full-time employment positions. So that would be meaning going down 8 teaching positions. What would that look like? Obviously, you could play this out and do anything in between or anything beyond that you wanted to, but I think that those two are kind of numbers that are important in terms of the context of what we're looking for. It also includes all costs for employees. So some costs for employees that the district accrues are attached to salaries but are not negotiated. And so that means our healthcare projections, which are provided by BSI, which are negotiated, PSERS rates and increases are not negotiated. That's based on a percentage that the PSERS puts out every year that says this is what percentage of a salary must be paid in by the district. Now, one of the important things to also consider, if you pay more in PSERS, you also get reimbursed for 50% from the state, so you're getting more back. So it's not, this only includes our initial cost for our PSERS contributions. We would then have to update our revenue to be more accurate in terms of what it will actually look like should the contract pass. It also includes accurate step-to-step vertical movement over the length of the contract. So if a teacher is currently on step 5, it includes their yearly increase on the vertical matrix and includes those new costs that are associated with that. In terms of revenues, what we've done is we've taken the average yearly annual revenue increase since 2014-15 fiscal year. That average has been 2.6%. So what you see is we've actually dropped that 0.1 of a percentage point. So this is a fairly conservative projection in terms of revenues. The other important factor is there's been a lot of talk even tonight about ESSER funding, that one-time federal funding. We have taken that out, even going all the way back, in order to come up with that 2.5%. So that money is not accounted for in these revenue projections, just to be clear. If we can go to the next slide. If you look at, this is the first year of the fiscal year projections. You see on the left the increase amount in new revenue that is projected, and then you see the increase of employee costs based upon, as I said, first, our current staffing number, and secondly, a reduction of 8 FTE positions on the actual average of the average teacher cost. What you'll see is that both of those numbers are negative, and excuse me, what that means is that the district would actually be spending less on this in year 1. Now, there are reasons for that, and the reasons are because we have already begun to look at some staffing reduction savings, which we've spoken about at other meetings throughout the course of the last couple of months. So even if we stay at right where we are anticipated right now, we're still spending in terms of the teacher's contract, we would be spending $203,000 less next year than what we are currently in the 22-23 fiscal year because of that adjustment in the number of full-time employees. If we were to reduce 8 positions, you see that jumps to $839,000 of savings. I guess the takeaway here is that negative amounts means that the district will spend that much less. Under both scenarios, you see that the increase of employee costs is outpaced by the increase amount in new revenue based upon those projections. Now, what I will say, revenue is certainly a projection, whereas those costs, those would be fixed should the contract be voted upon, passed, and ratified. If we go to the next slide, the same scenario now plays out, and you can see now what happens here is you see this is where you see the most drastic increase of employee costs over the course of the entire contract, still outpaced by the projected increase amount of new revenue during that fiscal year. The reason why you see the biggest increase of employee costs is because it's that adjustment after the number of reduced staff. So that then jumps up that following year because it's kind of like catching up to the year prior, if that makes sense, because it's that much more spent than the year before, not going back 2 years ago. So that's sort of your step-up year where you see that change. Another key point in every year is an increase in employee costs are always very likely to be, not guaranteed, but very likely to be lower due to departures, whether those are resignations or retirements, decreasing the average cost per employee. Even if we don't reduce, generally speaking, somebody retires in a teacher's union and you hire to replace them, you're probably, under most scenarios, paying them less at a starting rate. And so there are savings that are built in naturally through that process. I don't want to belabor each and every one, but if we move on to 25, 26, you see now that that number in the middle has kind of stabilized in terms of new costs from the prior year. And you still see, again, outpaced by the increased amount of new revenue. And we begin in this year really to see a much higher savings in healthcare costs. Years 1 and 2, you don't see all that much of a cost avoidance in healthcare costs, but you do begin to see that in year 3, and you'll see how that plays out then in future years as we move on to 26, 27, where you see the revenue kind of gaining up a little, the projected revenue kind of gaining a little bit up upon the projected costs, new employee costs. And then this is where we really begin to see the savings in the healthcare that is proposed in this contract that's on for vote tonight. In 27, 28, which is the second to last year of the contract, again, you still see that going forward. Revenue outpaces projected costs. Projected revenue outpaces projected costs. And when we start thinking about recurring costs versus non-recurring costs, anytime you're in a contract, those are recurring costs. They don't go away year to year. So you have to make sure that you have built in enough of a space between what you're bringing in versus what you need to send out in order to maintain a balanced, healthy fiscal budget. And then the final year of the contract, you actually see that continue. And that's really because those last 2 years, we start seeing, even when you count revenue versus new employee costs, a pretty dramatic $100,000 between the two, which is pretty good shape in terms of what that cost avoidance and healthcare cost savings are compared to what we know we would be spending out. The final slide provides for you totals over the length of the contract. So when you start thinking about what will the impact be in the long term for a district, again, conservatively projecting increased new revenues over that 6-year span. You see that it's a little over $7.1 million of new revenues over that time. And you see the cumulative increase of employee costs under both of those current staffing number and reduction of 8 full-time employee positions. One of the things to note is that those numbers are literally the most expensive they would be should we maintain this current staffing number. Very likely to actually come in lower than that. So we actually end up over the course, even under what I would say is, financially speaking, worst case scenario, where every single teacher in the district that is currently here at the beginning of next year stays and is currently moving up year to year 6 years down the road, we would still take in almost $2 million, $1.9 million of revenue beyond what the actual cost is of this contract in terms of paying employees. So anything else then, any changes to that lowers it. Of course, the one caveat, as I said at the very beginning, is that those revenue projections are projections. We could very likely have some years that are much higher than that, we could very likely have some that are lower than that. If they're lower than that, I would not anticipate that they would be much lower. Because if you look back historically, the lowest that I saw as I moved was about 2.4%. So we at times spiked up and then kind of came back and flattened back out. But very rarely did we go very, very far below that projected 2.5% increase of new yearly revenue. Does anybody have any questions? It's a lot of information, I do understand.
Could I make a quick comment?
Yes.
Is that okay?
I don't think there's anything that stops you. Go ahead.
All right. So as John Keller's counterpart across the table, I have to give him kudos because I think it's probably the most collaborative it's ever been in negotiating the teacher contract. And this is the first time in 20 years the teacher contract is coming in on time when it's supposed to come in, I believe, without a strike or any sort of strife. I just want to say the summary, at least in part of this. So since 2008, there's been a 50% reduction in people getting educational degrees, and getting high-quality teachers is becoming progressively more competitive. The goal from the board's perspective in this contract was relatively simple. We have three groups of stakeholders who we needed to serve. Those are the taxpayer, the employees of the district, and the students. And not necessarily in that order, I'll tell you honestly. I think each of us probably have a little different order, but the beauty of this contract is the fact that in order to support this contract, one, we don't have to raise taxes. In fact, the district as a whole is going to come out net positive, effectively. Two, we've done right by the teachers. We've put ourselves in a very good position when we need new positions to competitively hire. We'll be one of the more attractive districts in the IU. And I think we did, and John can tell me whether or not this is true, did a relatively good job of rewarding the teachers that have been here long term and keeping the quality teachers that we have in district to continue to take care of our kids. And three, we've served the students well by not having disruption in the education that's being provided to them, retaining the good teachers that we have, attracting new good teachers for positions that we need. And part of the contract is we've built in some professional development time in order to help our teachers become even better than what they're currently doing and to support them in their efforts in academics. This, to me, is a win-win-win. I'm very proud of the result that came out of this. I'm proud of the collaboration that we had with the teachers. I'm proud of the board supporting this because without both the teachers and the board being firmly behind this, we never would have had this collaborative environment in order to come to this and to come to an incredibly successful contract which serves all three people that the board is duty-bound to serve. So I just want to say thank you personally to the board for supporting the efforts, and I want to say thank you to the teachers union and the teachers that participated. John in particular, who is a great partner. I'm not sure I ever want to do this again, but if I have to, I'll do it with you, John.
Okay. Other questions? Anything for Mr. Moser? Anything about the data? And obviously, this is going to come back around to us later when we vote, so we'll have a chance to make comments, questions at that point as well. Anybody have anything else they'd like to say or any questions at this point from the board? And then we'll have public comment coming up soon. Okay, nothing for now? Okay.
The last part is just our district highlights. So if you just want to move forward to those newsletters, I think we'll start with the high school. And it is an absolute pleasure to serve the students and the faculty in this school district. In the last week alone, you could have been at a tree planting ceremony, an FFA banquet, a cornhole tournament, the middle school play. Our spring sports teams are doing a fabulous job. So there's just a lot of great things happening in the Danville community that I hope people are taking advantage of. Really proud of the district. And if you want to bring up that we've got our newsletters, and we can start with Mr. Wynn and telling us about all that's happening at the high school, including a prom that's just a few days away, I guess.
Yeah, thank you. So you'll see on here, this was the Channel 16 interview when they were talking Daniel Patterson. This is our SPM group. And as you scroll through there, you'll see some dates and some important things. Obviously, our art students were also highlighted on Channel 16, and students receiving art awards and scholarships and just doing outstanding things with our extracurriculars and our clubs and organizations. There you'll see the library has kind of been redone. There's a focus on a blood drive that was actually organized by 2 of our students as part of their AP class where they do community service. Again, some of our things here, the media and design competition, highlighting some of our students there. And this was sent out, obviously, just like all the newsletters to all the high school parents. Our FBLA group did an outstanding job at Susquehanna University in a sales competition. We had students recognized in New York Times. So again, just, pretty, like Dr. Need said, just some amazing things for our students to be recognized not only as a group here regionally, but also nationally in a New York Times CPERCH and Model UN conference. Again, a number of our students participating there. Outstanding jobs. And there talks about our SPM group, again, reading to DPS students. And then again, a link to the news feature. And we have Mrs. Ross here. Brenna Ross was our state champion swimmer. And there's a number of other students there, recognized student athletes for swimming and diving. Very proud of them. I did just want to talk about, so we did wrap up our Daniel Patterson event here, a fundraiser through, that was April 5th and 6th. Parent-teacher conferences, our last parent-teacher conferences for the year happened April 13th. AP testing is getting started and will be here at the beginning of May. Keystone testing then is the middle to the end of May, and then we go into final exams, and then graduation is June 9th. There's also a valediction ceremony in there as well. So we are rapidly ending the school year, our extracurriculars, our sporting events, and it is flying by, and it's hard to believe that we only have about 5 weeks left of school, and we will be, completely wrapped up in terms of final exams and students on their way for the summer.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nguyen. Mr. Snover, you can tell us about some of the great things, I guess, including the awesome play that just ended on Saturday night.
Sure. So yeah, I can start with that, and I do have a note here. So I did want to extend a congratulations to our middle school drama club, led by our teachers Sam Samatos and Corey Lombardo. They just finished up a 3-night run at the middle school auditorium of Sherlock Holmes and the Baker Street Irregulars. Anybody that came out and supported that, I would like to thank you for doing that. They put on a really awesome show, and the kids worked really hard to do that. It's our middle school drama is a great lead into the high school drama, and we hopefully are developing lots of young thespians that would love to continue to pursue that as they work through high school. So just following along with our newsletter, which like the high school goes out at the beginning of the month. Congratulations to our chess club. We have it's called the Chess Club. Throughout the year, they do a lot of different types of games, but right now they're in a 6-week chess competition with other schools. They earn points. They compete with other schools electronically, through using their Chromebooks. However, they earn points for their wins. So congratulations to our chess club for that competition within the league. I would like to again highlight the fact that we were one of the top 10% earners for the Raise the Region. Out of, I think there were about 340 organizations that participated. We were in the top 10%. We earned almost $15,000 just through the Raise the Region. And to add on to that, as Dr. Need just mentioned, I'd like to thank everybody that came out 2 weekends ago and helped plant trees at the middle school. We have a nice community garden that started. A lot of different organizations and, of course, individuals came out to help with that. If you haven't had a chance to go behind the middle school, please do so at some point. It looks fantastic. There's a lot of new trees back there. The garden looks great. It's got a nice fence around it. As maybe a lot of you have heard, we're really excited. We just got approved for a $100,000 grant through the Dagenstein Foundation. that is earmarked, at least a good portion of that, to go to a nice pavilion that we'd like to put in behind the school. And then 25,000 of that's going to be a matched grant, so that if we can raise another $25,000, that's $50,000 more dollars that we will have to benefit the park project that we've been working on. So some really great things are happening with the park, and again, I would like to welcome anybody to go behind the middle school to check out what we've got back there. It looks really great. Moving on, I would like to. We are. As of today, we've got 1 day of our PSSA testing taken care of. Day 1 of our ELA tests are down. It went really, really smoothly. The students, of course, all we can do is encourage them to do their very best. And all the hard work of the students and the teachers throughout the school year, now we hopefully are reaping some of the dividends of that as they do well on these tests. Again, all we ask the students is just do their best and hopefully, don't get too anxious and stressed over them. I know that's hard for some students. I have my own kids, and I know that they, certainly want to do their best on tests. So it is a nerve-wracking thing for everyone. So we have 2 more days of testing this week, and then next week at the middle school we'll have our math tests and then 8th grade science tests. Like to highlight one of our other extracurricular activities, our Heart and Soul, which is a running club. They have Girls on the Run. That's an elementary program, and some very diehard running enthusiasts in the district recognize that our young ladies get to participate in Girls on the Run through Liberty Valley. And then once they hit 7th grade, they can participate in cross country or track and field. But then there's this gap of this 6th grade group that there's nothing there for girls that just really love to run. So they came up with a group called Heart and Soul. And we have a nice group of girls. They've been running since February. So in the cold months, after school, you see them doing laps around the halls in the middle school. And now that the nice weather's here, they're outside a lot more. Moving on, some congratulations to a number of different groups. We've represented very well in a lot of different ways. Our PA Media and Design competition, we did awesome there. We had a student that took 1st place. Our Odyssey of the Mind and Sea Perch our groups have done really, really well. Odyssey of the Mind took 3rd place recently, and Sea Perch is moving on in about 2 weeks to the University of Maryland to compete in the International Sea Perch competition. And every month we do recognize 2 students from each grade level that are nominated by teachers, just that exemplify our what we strive for at the middle school. Our acronym is RISE: Respect, Integrity, Success, and Empathy. So every month, 6 students are recognized for demonstrating those traits, and they get a nice certificate and a gift card for Dunkin' Donuts just for winning that. Honor. So again, thank you, and lots of great things happening at the middle school. And April and May are going to continue to be very, very busy months.
Thank you so much, Mr. Snover, and we'll turn over to Mr. Gump. Liberty Valley also had their first day of PSSAs today as well.
Molly, Molly,
Yes.
could I just make a comment about I was able to participate in the tree planting
Yes.
event, contributing a very small part, to be clear, maybe a hole or two. But it was such a great experience because it was clear that the community cared about what was happening there and showed up in massive numbers with shovels in hand, ready to work. And it just was a really cool experience for me as a new board member to be injected into that sense of family and community that comes with the school system. And clearly it was something that's important and matters to a lot of folks, so it was a privilege to be a part of that.
Thank you.
And to top it off, Mr. Snover, Mr. Haravi, and all the volunteers got a rose from the Press Enterprise. So that was a good PR.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot to follow up on that one. But at Liberty Valley, we got some good things going as well. The first page is up top. These are our Connects STEM design team. They won 1st place at the regional competition at the CSIU. The team members are Tessa Tomko, Helen Kottner, Olivia Rodarmel, and Annabelle Barricaldo. and they have the claw machine. So their prototype, the claw machine, won regionals, and they are going to be competing in Harrisburg on Friday, May 12th at the statewide competition. And their advisor is Mrs. Kristen Byer. So congratulations to the entire group. Bottom of page 1, we had a virtual authors visit. Thank you to our home and school group, including Mrs. Erin Hayes. They put together this visit from Max Bralier. He's the author of the Last Kids on Earth series. So it's a new series for Liberty Valley aged students. Every student at the school got a book donated by the home and school group, and we had a great time with Max. Our students asked him lots of questions near the end, and he was just went overtime, just making sure he was able to answer all those questions that our Liberty Valley students had. So again, a good time. Thank you to our home and school group. On page 2, I want to thank the high school FFA program. They brought Niblet the goat by. We thought that we won something special at the time, so we put it there, and I ended up finding out that every other school got to see Niblet as well. But we felt special for
I
at
do
least one
think
day.
you had the biggest collection. So I think you won first place, and Mr. Wagner was just generous and went to all the schools.
Yes, okay. So we did something, but thank you, families, for the donations to have Niblet come visit us out at Liberty Valley. And just the last thing near the bottom here, we just recognized our Forged in Fire award winners for March. So we have one more of those to go, but every homeroom teacher nominates one student 4 times a year. This again was our 3rd time of the year that we've done it. So all 24 homerooms get to nominate a Forged in Fire award winner, and we're very proud of our March winners, and we look forward to our end of year winners as well. And so if you're ever at Liberty Valley, when you walk in the center of the school, on the left we call it the Hall of Flame, Forged in Fire, Hall of Flame, and those pictures of those students are up on the wall. But again, good stuff going on at Liberty Valley.
Thank you, Mr. Gump. And Mrs. Willoughby will tell us about the primary school, and she is fresh off of a concert tonight.
I am sorry for being late, but
no,
yes,
that's
I was down at the
exciting.
high school. And that will be in this month's newsletter, so I will save that. I too highlighted Niblet's visit. However, I didn't make a big deal out of it. I didn't want to steal Liberty Valley's thunder, but we were very excited to welcome Niblet. As you can see, the students were happy to have a little animal roaming the hallways. But with that, too, students are engaged in many science experiments and different things that are happening both inside and outside of the building. Our DPS Science Fair occurred in March. It seems like it was so long ago, but our home and school, particularly Angela Sindrick, did an amazing job organizing this event. Students came out, it was exciting, and families were able to engage in this activity. We also had members of the high school come up and be our judges, so it was a wonderful way to connect with the high school students as well. In addition, our 2nd grade swimming has taken off. It's absolutely an amazing activity that 2nd grade is able to participate in. I have the honor of accompanying some of them, which is very nice, but it is a 7-week program, and they will receive weekly swimming lessons to promote water safety. And finally, our students were asked to participate in an initiative called My Dear Friend, which is led by a high school service club called Glamour Girls. So anytime we can get our students involved, it's just a lovely thing that we do, to kind of promote kindness among children and get ourselves out into the community. So they wrote lovely cards to nursing homes and then presented them to the Glamour Girls. Our Iron Kid winners are listed there. We will have an Iron Kid tomorrow for April, so that will be listed in next month's newsletter. And then, of course, our upcoming events. And we are going to be very busy this next month. So
Thank you so much, Mrs. Willoughby. And last but certainly not least, Mrs. Marshall with some Head Start information. And that's just the next screen, Mr. Ryan, like in the slideshow. There you go.
So in Head Start, the week of April 3rd was Week of the Young Child, and that's just to celebrate, put a public attention on the young child and focuses on early childhood programs that help those families and children. We had a total of 16 readers come in to our classrooms to read a book and to do an activity. The kids loved all of the visitors. We had the whole list is there. A big thank you to Dr. Faulkner, Mrs. Need for coming in and doing activities with all of the kids. It just was a really neat week just to showcase them and just to have people come in throughout the whole week.
Thank you all very much.
Finished? Okay, any questions about anything from the superintendent's report or any of the reports that you heard? Any questions or comments?
I would like to comment on the middle school play. It was a great play, Sherlock Holmes. There was a few of us there with children in the play. I think what the board should do is actually look at possibly estimates on upgrading the sound system, because even myself, I was having a hard time where I was sitting, hearing the play. Somebody older that has some hearing loss would be just sitting there, wouldn't be able to hear it at all. So I would like to possibly see estimates down the road.
We can certainly bring to you what it would look like to do upgrades there, and Mr. Snover is smiling because he's in full agreement.
Can I make one?
Sure,
other-
Dr. Green?
And I agree with Mr. Vognitz. It was difficult to hear, even though the kids did an amazing job. They did the best they could with directional microphones and projecting. So we're really proud of them, even though it was somewhat difficult. Word on the second grade swimming lessons. Dr. Need, am I right that needs a yearly re-up of funding in order to continue?
Yes, so there is a family that is willing to donate half of the funding for that on an annual basis to the Danville Area Community Center to cover the costs. And so then there was an additional $10,000 that was raised this year, thank you, Dr. Green, by Evangelical and UPMC, each contributing $5,000. So that will be either a yearly cost to the district or a yearly additional ask. So certainly now would be a great time for us to be asking again about that donation.
So that was the reason that I brought it up, because I wanted to thank both UPMC and EVAN for donating the money in order to make that possible. And I wanted to, once again, make the public commitment that we'll find a way to cover those costs externally. And so this is the shot across the bow for UPMC and EVAN. I will be coming back with my hat in hand in order to try to get a second year of the costs covered.
Yeah, and I had an opportunity to join the second graders, and I've been in touch with Heather Laba, and certainly Mrs. Willoughby has been able to be there quite a bit. But I really, more than I did before this started, feel like what we're doing is critical. I knew that there were students that would need to learn how to swim. I have to say that I was surprised by the number of students that had truly never had a swimming lesson prior to this, and even students that spoke about pools in their own yard or in neighbors' yards. And we obviously are a river community, so I think what we're doing is really impactful for those students, and I'm excited to think about that continuing into the future.
I also wanted to say thanks to Dr. Willoughby Mrs. Willoughby. And I think that the teachers have done some additional duty getting the kids there and things like that. And I wanted to say thank you to them as well for doing that and making that possible.
Can I just give a shout out real quick, because I was able to go to the FFA banquet, and I just wanted to congratulate Bobby on getting his honorary into that club. I think you could tell the students really, really liked him and respect him. And also just a quick shout out to Van Wagner and Mike Schultz, because when the students talked about how they impacted them, that was absolutely amazing. Amazing. So just a quick shout out to them too.
Anything else? Okay. All right, two quick things before public comment. First of all, we did have an executive session tonight to discuss contract negotiations and personnel issue. And second, I was remiss earlier. I'd like to appoint Dr. Faulkner to the Academic Affairs Committee. Also, I don't think we've historically voted on that as a board. It's been a president appointment, and you would take Dr. Katachu's position there as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Public comment, agenda items only. Do we have anybody that would like to speak to the board tonight on any agenda item? And we'll have another opportunity to speak at the end of the meeting on topics that are not necessarily on the agenda. Okay, we're going to move on. We have a presentation from the CS Hammers mountain bike team. If they're here, they can take the stage. Such as it is.
Matt McElroy here. Thank you to the school board and for everyone here who.
Dr. McElroy, if you just hit the button, it'll pick you up for the viewers from home, and it should turn green then.
You see green, yeah, you're on. Yeah, not yet.
You turned it back on.
Push forward. Push it.
Matt McElroy here.
Maybe pass, Linda, could you pass that one?
Oh, it's red?
Oh, it's red but on. Oh,
Okay.
Okay, that's special.
All right, Dr. McElroy, you're good.
You're great then.
The mic.
The microphone.
Nope, you're good.
You're okay.
I'm sorry, Dr. McElroy.
So Matt McElroy here. I am one of the head coaches for the Danville Hammers mountain bike team, and we appreciate the invitation and opportunity to be here. We are in about our 6th year, and our team is made up of 2 teams. The primary team is represented through the school district, and we want to acknowledge our continued collaboration. We fill the spot of the Danville Outdoor Trails Club, and I want to make a special acknowledgement to Chris Johns. He has been our go-between to help organize some of the relationship we needed, including our funding distribution and so forth, as we've needed some funds. So this past year, for the 2nd year in a row, our team won the state title, which we won. There's 2 categories, and we won last year for both the larger and lower categories, and this year we won for the larger category, which was a big accomplishment and speaks to we have a lot of very good racers, but we also have the thing that put us over the top was one of our charges is we accumulate points by finishing well and having racers, and we don't have as many racers as many of the Philadelphia and Harrisburg teams and Pittsburgh teams, but we have a lot of fast racers, and we also put in quite a few volunteer hours. We have several hundred volunteer hours, and that's part of the league's statewide initiative, and so that looks like improved trails at Hopewell, at Geisinger, at Hessfield, and so our charge is essentially to try to improve the trails that are there and make them better for have been there. So that's what put us over the top. We really didn't win overall for the number of racers, but our volunteer hours helped us push to first place. So proud of our team and really proud of what our mission statement is. So I don't want to take much time. We have a couple of racers here who want to give them just a minute for the floor here.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Hannah Hafer, and I've been on the Central Susquehanna mountain biking team since 7th grade. And so we have riders on the composite and the school team from Danville and the surrounding school districts. And we have practice and the community projects year-round. Our season starts in July. But we have races throughout the fall season all over Pennsylvania. This year, our team is doing something that we've never done before, and that's hosting a mass enduro race. So this is Mid-Atlantic Super Series in the surrounding states such as Pennsylvania. So we have a coach retreat in May, which the pickle teams, we have hundreds of coaches that are going to come here to Danville to have a retreat. This brings light to our mountain biking community and offers, hopefully bringing riders interested trails and raises funds for our team and the community. In preparation for this race, we need to prepare the trails and talking a little bit more about the team trail.
Thank you. Well done.
So I'm Benton Krellin. I'm a sophomore, and this past season was my third year on the team and my second year racing. As you may know, Hammers have won the state championships for the last 2 years. While winning races is a big part of that win, points earned from Teen Trail Corps really helped our team stay on the top. Teen Trail Corps is another component of being on the team. We demonstrate stewardship over the trails we ride on. We clear leaves, brush, and trees, as well as add or maintain trail features such as benching, berms, and trail drainage. Additionally, we plan and develop new trails. Part of the biking community includes this trail maintenance. Even when the competitive season ends, we continue to improve our community. I, as well as several of our other members of the team, earned special awards for contributing to the 400+ hours we put into our trails. All this work contributes to making our team a success. Thank you for your time and support.
Thank you. Any others? All right. Sure, yes, go ahead.
Probably more than that, and growing about 20 a year. So you take 13 plus parents per kid, you try to find the work as hard as they do on the trails in the community. There are coaches that are coming here to get training. States seeing their these kids got so fast, and they want doping tests and stuff, but no. Everybody's really putting in a giant effort, and we just what you guys have done basically exists. It was an idea years ago, and we just kind of run with it.
Thank you. We really appreciate what you're doing. I don't want to pretend that I know an awful lot about it, but everything I hear is great. Like every kid I hear from, the experience is fantastic, and you're really providing a great service for our students. So the appreciation you give to us, I think, is exceeded by what we give back. We really appreciate what you're doing. Handle with care, local law enforcement.
Good evening, Board. My name's Frederick Dyroff. I'm the Chief of Police in the Mahoning Township Police Department. With me tonight is Chief Kerry Parks of the Riverside Police Department. Chief Swank from Danville PD could not make it, but he's in support of this program. Last year, I learned of a program called Handle with Care from Chief Brad Hare from the Sunbury Police Department and what they do with the at the Shikellamy School District. After hearing about it, we wanted to bring it to the Danville Area School District. We met with Superintendent Need back in early 2023 to discuss the possibility, so here we are tonight. I just want to briefly talk about what the Handle with Care program is. Just bear with me for a few minutes. The Handle with Care program enables police to notify school districts or other child care education entities with when police encounter a child at a traumatic scene, so school personnel and mental health partners can provide appropriate trauma-sensitive interventions immediately. Kind of like you were talking about, Superintendent Need, earlier about the mental health things going on within the district. Handle with Care requires the following. The police to send notifications to the schools to receive notifications and prepare trauma-sensitive support, and mental health care providers to partner with schools for an on-site therapy when warranted. The goal is to set schools up better. The goal is to set schools up to better help children exposed to trauma focus, behave appropriately, and learn. When officers identify a child at a scene of a traumatic event, domestic violence, meth lab, drug raid, vehicle accident, shooting, etc., they will enter specific information to the department's database, which, upon approval, will generate an email notification to the school district or child care entity. This confidential notification, which is documented in the police report, contains 4 pieces of basic information: the child's name, the child's age, the school of where the child is attending. In this message, the message reads, The child referenced below was on the scene of a police action in the last 24 hours and could exhibit academic, emotional, and/or behavioral problems as a result of exposure to a traumatic event. Details about the event are not initially shared with the school district or child care entity. Because it isn't anyone's place to judge how traumatic an event is, officers will send notification on every child. Upon receipt of the Handle with Care notification identifying the child who has been exposed to trauma, the Danville Area School District designated point persons within each school will then disseminate that notification to the appropriate teacher, social worker, guidance counselor, and any other relevant staff. They will provide identified students who are exhibiting behaviors that are not consistent with their normal manner a safe person and place. I apologize.
That's okay.
They will provide identified students who are exhibiting behaviors that are not consistent with their normal behavior, a safe person, a safe place where they can receive additional support, such as postponing a test, accepting a missed assignment, or allowing the student to rest if he or she is having a hard time focusing or staying awake, but otherwise not addressing the child about the incident. Very specific about that. The teachers and the people supporting the child will not be discussing what happened with the police encounter before, due to the confidentiality of what happened the night before or whenever that happened. The school district will determine the need for ongoing counseling or other intervention if needed. In closing, I feel the Handle with Care program facilitates communication between law enforcement and the school district for children who may have a difficult time processing a traumatic event and who may be struggling in school. With these notifications, the school district will be informed that something happened, that they may be able to understand why the student is struggling that day and may be in a position to help the student. Thank you. On the board behind me is a flow chart. Pretty much what happens, there's an incident, child's exposed to the incident, the police arrive, they send a notification to the school notifies the teachers, and then from there, if the child is okay, nothing's really done, but if the child's showing signs of trauma, needs some assistance, then the school will step in with counselors and try to help the child, or, maybe it's matters like, hey, don't worry about the homework assignment from last night, we're going to give you a pass on that, or we're going to put you in a, give them something to eat, maybe they didn't have breakfast that day because maybe mom's not there or dad's not there. So that's what the flow chart is. So I wanted to bring it to the, I thought it's something that Danville could use. I know I spoke with, Shikellamy uses it with great success, and I think it could be something that would benefit the students here in the community. So thank you for your
Great.
time. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming out. Any questions?
Yeah, Chief. I love the idea of this.
Yes, sir.
But as I'm looking through it, something pops into my head about some legalities.
Okay, well, yep, yes, sir.
Are we doing this without any parents' consent?
So I spoke with the district attorney about this, okay? So the issue was, you're not really, I believe you need to have parent consent. I don't think you'd be doing anything behind a parent's back. My opinion is you should notify the school. And that's going to be something that the school district, law enforcement, we're going to hand that off to you, and the school district's going to come up with, hey, if we have an incident where the child does need some sort of therapy or needs some assistance, it's going to be up to the school district to determine how you're going to handle that.
Just so you're aware, they will not reveal any part of the nature of what happened whatsoever.
So the details of the event
There'll
aren't
be no,
disclosed.
and we will be instructing our teachers to ask no questions about it. So it's truly just an opportunity for us to show grace. Maybe that child needs to go to the nurse's office and sleep because they were up all night. Maybe they truly do need a snack. Maybe, like he shared, we would say, let's do the test another day. Just kind of the grace that we can show as educators without any questioning about the situation whatsoever.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. This is a long time coming, in all honesty. But that it kind of worried me a little bit there. You started to say something about consulting the district attorney?
Yeah, I did speak with Angie Mattis, the district attorney of the county, and our concern was that the teachers, we don't want the teachers getting involved with any kind of interviewing of the child as far as any kind of details. Hey, what happened last night? Oh, tell me what happened. Give me all the blow by blow. Literally, it could be a blow by blow. We don't want them to interview that child about what happened or what they may have seen.
And that is even part of the training that teachers get in terms of having to be mandated reporters. So as educators, we know that it isn't our job to investigate what we hear. If we hear something that feels concerning, we're mandated reporters, and then the appropriate authorities do the investigation there. So I certainly appreciate your leadership in the community and your thought to include Danville, and thankful that we can work so well
You're
together.
welcome. And the police officers will receive training on it, our policy. We already have established policies within our departments, and we'll have one for this specifically for handle with care, and they will handle, they will follow the policy. Only thing we need is, if the board approves, or we have an MOU, and then we're going to need, I'd find out who we're going to send that form to.
Yes.
Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, so you'll see that on the agenda. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, please.
I was just going to say, you'll see the MOU on the agenda, which is why we asked them to come speak
And all of the
today.
departments in the area, in the school district are participating in
Yeah,
this?
Riverside, Danville Police Department, and the Mahoning Township Police Department.
Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate
You're
you coming out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, just a real quick question, if I may. So
Yes.
this is all students in the Danville Area School District, even if they're 18? Is there any cap on the program?
Any what?
Is there any age that
No,
this
if you're a
would-
student within the district, I would
Okay.
say, yes.
Even
Any
adults.
student. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Transition presentation, Danielle Latshaw-Kiefer and Alyssa Wenrick.
Good evening. I'm here on. Is it working? All right, thank you. I'm here as the Director of Special Education, but I'm also here as somebody who has been a part of the Special Education Department for almost 20 years here at Danville, but primarily as an elementary teacher. And recently I've gotten very involved with secondary efforts. And we are here to provide you with some information of what could potentially be an incredible learning experience for our students and also for their future. Since COVID, we have been working to increase our, can you go to the next slide, please? We have been working on rebuilding some of our programs. And one very important program that we've been working to rebuild is our transition program at the high school. The state, through patent and transition discoveries, offered a grant to support districts in the efforts to build and strengthen their transition programs. Danville was one of 4 districts in the central region to be awarded the grant. It is a 2-year implementation grant that will be presented to us in 3 increments of $15,000. So the purpose of the grant is to collect, first of all, to collect data and to analyze that information to make decisions that are both meaningful and beneficial to students. It's to improve planning of transition services here at Danville Area School District. It's to create a transition program that is meaningful, purpose-driven, and more importantly, student-driven. It is to empower families, educators, the community, and most importantly, students to plan, develop, design, and become meaningful partners in creating a transition program. And also, the hope is to develop relationships with community agencies to discover resources and services that are available. Now, I'm going to turn this over to Danielle Latshaw-Kiefer, who I can't say enough things about Danielle. She is the one that applied, did all of the work to get the grant, and has been leading the whole grant process. So,
I think it's first. Am I on? To know transition programming is the bridge between high school and adult opportunities that focus on post-secondary education, employment, independent living, and community participation. So as Ms. Wenrick stated, it is a 2-year commitment, 4 stages. Right now we're in stage 1. We're going to be collecting data about our transition programming. In stage 2, we're going to analyze that data and evaluate our strengths and areas of improvement. In stage 3, we're going to design a community action planning event. And in stage 4, implement an action plan. And with the transition programming, the hope is to develop a program that's going to be sustainable after the funding is done. So that is the big goal. Mr. Ryan? So more specifically, what we're doing here in stage 1 is we're looking at youth, families, and stakeholders to take a survey to collect data on our transition programming. We also established a transition change agent team known as the TCAT team, and we're currently developing an engagement, leadership, and learning plan. Go ahead. Our TCAT members, I'm team champion because I'm our transition coordinator. We also have 2 high school students, 2 parents, a regular education teacher, a middle school learning support teacher who has a background in transition, our high school life skills teacher, director of special education, high school assistant principal, the CSIU transition consultant, the CSIU director of professional development, a nonprofit organization, and our Office of Vocational Rehabilitation Counselor. So it is a good group. We have been meeting monthly since December to identify live and asynchronous data collection events. We're monitoring survey data as it comes in using the What Works Data Hub provided by the state. We were also required to get parent permission for any student under the age of 18 to participate in the survey, as well as completing monthly implementation updates. So what we're looking for, we want students with disabilities age 14 to 27 to take this survey. So even if students have graduated, we want their input. We're also looking for families of students with disabilities and professionals who support transition. Those professionals are Danville Area School District stakeholders. They are teachers, administration, the school board, community businesses. Anyone who supports our transition program, we want to hear from you. The state did give us an expectation target. We have to have at least 30 participants in each category. Our TCAT team came up with a goal of 50. So that's what we would like to see. As of tonight, we have 49 students that completed the survey. Our teachers have been super busy. We have 18 stakeholders and 4 family members. The survey is super easy to find on the district website. If you go to offices, go ahead. Click on Special and Gifted Education Services. Go ahead again. And if you scroll down to the 3rd line of puzzle pieces, Transition Discoveries Survey. And can you click on the survey link? So this is what the survey is going to look like. When you scroll down, well, you can see it. Are you a young person? Are you a parent? Or are you a professional who supports our transition? Once you get into this and you start inputting data, you're only going to see Danville Middle School and Danville High School. That's because that's where the transition planning process starts. It starts when our students are age 13, turning 18. So if you are a parent of a student with a disability at Liberty Valley, we still want to hear from you. You just need to select either the middle school or the high school. If you're a teacher at Danville Primary School, we still want to hear from you. You just have to select Danville Middle School or high school. It is a little confusing, but we do want your input and your data. Go back to the slideshow. We also encourage you to check out the Transition Discoveries website. There's wonderful resources for students, parents, to help students prepare for life after high school. Sorry. The grant did require us to incentivize individuals participating in the survey without using grant funding. So I had the pleasure of going out to the Danville community. I reached out to Danville stakeholders and asked them to make donations for a raffle prize. We plan on raffling off prizes for individuals who take the survey at the end of May when we reach our goals. So you can see there's something on there for everybody, every category. We have amazing prizes. Go ahead, scroll to the next one. See some more amazing raffle prizes. So the Danville community, the school district, everybody really stepped up for this. So it's pretty amazing. So we want as much support as we can get. Do you have any questions?
Questions on the presentation?
I just wanted to say thank you for your continued support, and we're going to be updating you as we go along with this process to let you know where we are as we move forward.
Thank you. Very well done. Appreciate it. Anyone? No questions?
Thank you, Danielle, for writing the grant and seeking this for our students.
Okay, we're going to work our way through our agenda. School property and supplies, 6.1, payment application. The board will take action to approve payment of payment application number 10 in the amount of $38,380 to Myco Mechanical Incorporated as presented. We have a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Got it? Okay. Comments, questions? Roll call vote?
Dr. Green?
Yes?
Mrs. Heater?
Yes.
Mr. Huron?
Yes.
Mr. Reichard?
Yes.
Mr. Vognitz?
Yes.
Mr. Klauser?
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Dr. Faulkner?
Yes.
Mr. Brookhart?
Yes. 6.2, graduation production equipment rental. The board will take action to approve the sound system and screen rental from ESG Systems LLC for the 2023 graduation ceremony at a cost of $4,050. A motion?
Second.
Okay, we had a motion and a second. Questions, comments?
I just wanted to share that we did receive some feedback that previous graduations without the appropriate sound and visual system were harder to follow as community members, and so we're just trying to make this a wonderful opportunity to celebrate the class of 23.
Thank you. Ms. Reno?
Mrs. Heater?
Yes.
Mr. Huron?
Yes.
Mr. Reichard?
Yes.
Mr. Vognitz?
Yes.
Mr. Klauser?
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Dr. Faulkner?
Yes.
Dr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Brookhart?
Yes. 7, curriculum and management report, tuition paid agriculture and related sciences student. The board will take action to accept a transfer student number 114030 to Danville Area School District as a tuition paying student to enroll in our agriculture / animal / plant / veterinary science and related fields program 01.9999 using section 1809A of the PA Public School Code. The student's family resides in the Shikellamy School District, who will be responsible for paying the tuition. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Questions, comments? Reno, whenever you're ready.
Mr. Huron?
Yes.
Mr. Reichard?
Yes.
Mr. Vognitz?
Yes.
Mr. Klauser?
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Dr. Faulkner?
Yes.
Dr. Green?
Yes.
Mrs. Heater?
Yes.
Mr. Brookhart?
Yes, we're going to move on another tuition student acceptance. The board will take action to accept a transfer student number 114029 to Danville Area School District as a tuition paying student to enroll in our entrepreneurial studies program 52.0701 using section 1809A of the PA Public School Code. The student's family resides in the Shikellamy School District, who will be responsible for paying the tuition.
Motion.
Mr. Vognitz. Second.
I'll second.
Ms. Heater. Questions, comments? Okay, Ms. Reno, we're ready.
Mr. Vognitz?
Yes.
Mr. Klauser?
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Dr. Faulkner?
Yes.
Dr. Green?
Yes.
Mrs. Heater?
Yes.
Mr. Huron?
Yes.
Mr. Reichard?
Yes.
Mr. Brookhart?
Yes. 8.1, Rotary Youth Exchange student under the School and Community Relations section. The board will take action to approve a Rotary Exchange student for the 2023-24 academic year for Danville High School through the Rotary Youth Exchange program. The host family will reside in the Danville Area School District. Motion?
So moved.
Mr. Klauser, second?
Second.
Second. Do we have any additional information, Dr. Need or Mr. Wynn, on this?
We do have board policy regarding exchange students, and this person has provided all documentation that follows that policy, and we've had our guidance counselors review it as well.
Okay, great. Any additional comment, question? All right, we're ready to vote. Ms. Reno?
Mr. Clauser?
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Dr. Faulkner?
Yes.
Dr. Green?
Yes.
Mrs. Heater?
Yes.
Mr. Huron?
Yes.
Mr. Reichard?
Yes.
Mr. Vognitz?
Yes.
Mr. Brookhart?
Yes. 9.1, we have our finance reports. 9.2, our cash receipts. And then 9.3, our bills for payment. 9.3, we'll need to take action. The board will take action to approve the bills for payment from March 8, 2023 through April 18, 2023 as presented. Motion to approve.
Motion.
Mr. Vognitz.
Second.
Second from Dr. Green. Any questions or comments about any of the financial issues presented to you? Okay, ready to vote?
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Dr. Faulkner?
Yes.
Dr. Green?
Yes.
Mrs. Heater?
Yes.
Mr. Huron?
Yes.
Mr. Reichard?
Abstain.
Mr. Vognitz?
Yes.
Mr. Brookhart?
Yes.
Mr. Clauser?
9.4, Head Start, COLA and Q1. The board will take action to approve the Head Start Cost of Living Adjustment, COLA, and Quality Improvement Money as presented. A motion.
Motion.
Mr. Reichard, second.
I'll
Second.
second.
Mrs. Heater. Questions or comments? Laura?
Reichard and Heater?
Yes. Mhm.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Dr. Faulkner?
Yes.
Dr. Green?
Yes.
Mrs. Heater?
Yes.
Mr. Huron?
Yes.
Mr. Reichard?
Yes.
Mr. Vognitz?
Yes.
Mr. Clauser?
Yes.
Mr. Brookhart?
Yes. 9.5, Head Start Continuation Application Grant. Sorry. The board will take action to approve the Head Start Continuation Application Grant as presented. Motion? Ms. Cooper. Mr. Reichard. Any questions or comments or discussion? Laura, whenever you're ready, we can vote.
Dr. Faulkner?
Yes.
Dr. Green?
Yes.
Mrs. Heater?
Yes.
Mr. Huron?
Yes.
Mr. Reichard?
Yes.
Mr. Vognitz?
Yes.
Mr. Clauser?
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Brookhart?
Yes. 9.6, the CMAVTS budget, the Columbia Montour Votech School. The board will take action to approve the 2023-2024 CMAVTS budget as presented. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Mr. Clauser.
Second.
Second, Mr. Vognitz. Do we have any questions, discussion, additional information? I know we have two reps there. Is there anything you want to add, Mr. Clauser, or anything you feel we should know other than what we've already received?
No, this is
Okay. Okay. All right.
Dr. Green?
Yes.
Mrs. Heater?
Yes.
Mr. Huron?
Yes.
Mr. Reichard?
Yes.
Mr. Vognitz?
Yes.
Mr. Clauser?
yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Dr. Faulkner?
Yes.
Mr. Brookhart?
Yes. 9.7, the food service contract renewal. The board will take action to approve the Mets Food Service Renewal Year Cost Reimbursable Contract for the 2023-2024 school year with a guarantee to the district of $145,000 as presented. A motion to approve.
Motion.
Mr. Reichard.
Second.
Ms. Cooper seconds. Questions or comments about this? This is a continuation of the same company, correct? And they've been here for a
Yes.
few years.
It is, yes.
Okay.
Do a
Great.
great job.
Okay.
Mrs. Heater?
Yes.
Mr. Huron?
Yes.
Mr. Reichard?
Yes.
Mr. Vognitz?
Yes.
Mr. Clauser?
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Dr. Faulkner?
Yes.
Dr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Brookhart?
Yes. PASBO contract. The board will take action to approve the contract between Danville Area School District and the Pennsylvania Association of School Business Officials, PASBO, to provide an interim business manager during SECOR at an hourly rate of $75, not an hour, not to exceed 16 hours weekly, to provide services including completing the current audit and resubmitting the AFR as presented. And I'll add, this is something we talked about a month or two ago, I believe, right? Okay. Motion to approve.
Motion.
Mr. Vognitz, second.
Second.
Second, Mr. Reichard. Any questions or comment on this? I'm not sure exactly what month, maybe about February or
Let's say,
March.
I believe it was February that we could look to do some
We
contracted
authorized you to go out and
services.
find that, okay.
Yes, and we were working with Mr. Sokolowski, and so she's doing separate work than what he'll be. She's sort of doing the past for us so he can help us move forward.
Right,
Very
okay. And we
narrow
got a,
scope, yeah.
we got a motion and a second, correct? Okay, and I'm going to interject real quickly. I don't know how many people have met Mr. Sokolowski yet, but since we referred to him, Mr. Sokolowski will be our new business manager. He is transitioning from the Easton Area School District and will be working with us, giving us a little time now and then on with us permanently fairly soon. Okay. Any further discussion, questions on this motion? Okay. Ms. Reno?
Mr. Huron?
Yes.
Mr. Reichard?
Yes.
Mr. Vognitz?
Yes.
Mr. Klauser?
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Dr. Faulkner?
Yes.
Dr. Green?
Yes.
Mrs. Heater?
Yes.
Mr. Brookhart?
Yes. DASD and DEA contract. This is item 9.9. The board will take action to approve the contract between the Danville Area School District and the Danville Education Association beginning July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2029. Can I get a motion to approve?
I motion.
Second.
Dr. Green and Mr. Vognitz. Questions and comments? We had a fairly substantial presentation. Any additional information you're seeking, discussion you'd like to prompt, questions that you have from the board? Okay, and not knowing where the vote is going, I do want to once again thank Dr. Green, all the time you put into this, and the committee, Ms. Heater, Mr. Klauser, sorry, and the association for working with us, and it's a prodigious task to take on a contract negotiation. It's a lot of time and energy that's invested, so we really appreciate it, and obviously appreciate the collegial note tone of the conversations that were held, and we'll see where we go with the vote. And if anybody else has anything to say, I think now's the time. Dr. Green, go ahead.
This wouldn't have been possible without the support from the board, and I appreciate that.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you. Anything else before we vote? Okay. Dr. Reno. Or Mr. Reno. Mrs. Reno. I'm sorry.
Everybody's becoming a doctor.
Too many doctors. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm handing out the title today.
Mr. Reichard? Yes. Mr. Vognitz?
Yes.
Mr. Klauser?
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Dr. Faulkner?
Yes.
Dr. Green?
Yes.
Mrs. Heater?
Yes.
Mr. Huron?
Yes.
Mr. Brookhart?
Yes. Congratulations, everyone. Any comments?
Great job, Sandy.
Mr. Keller is here. I wonder if we'd allow him to speak if he wants to.
Sure. Mr. Keller, you have anything you'd like to say to us?
Yes.
Absolutely.
John Keller, 86 Bogart of Valley Township. I'd like to echo what both Dr. Need and Dr. Greed said this evening. I've been involved in 3 negotiations in a row, and this was a negotiation that was, and Molly had the words I was going to use, it was constructive, it was respectful, and it was positive. And that really is due to the tenor and the tone that Dr. Green set. So deep debt of gratitude to Sandy, also for the efforts of Molly and all of this. And I actually have contracts from the past 30 plus years, and this is the first time in at least 3 decades that we've reached an agreement prior to the expiration of the current contract. So a great debt of gratitude to all of you. We appreciate it so much, and in particular the tone that we were able to approach this with. I think that's evidence that it was fruitful. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Keller.
I can safely say you helped set that tone, because I was ready to go fisticuffs the first time.
Okay. Personnel consent items 10.1. The board will take action to approve personnel items 10.2, 10.3, 10.4, 10.5, 10.6, 10.7, 10.8, 10.9, and 10.10. Please take a look, and if there's anything you would like removed from the consent.
10:10.
10.10, okay. All right, anything else you would like removed? Everybody had sufficient time? See, some of you are still looking. We'll give you a minute. Okay. All right, where are we here? 10.10. Do we want to take that on first, Dr. Need and Ms. Reno? How do we, I mean, generally, we've taken that one first. This was at the end of the list, so.
I think we could go either direction.
All right. Okay. Let's start with 10.10, then we'll backtrack to the ones we're doing under consent. Mr. Reichert?
Yes, my biggest concern is this job has been handled for 8+ years, I know of, without having someone else fill in different parts of it. I'm concerned why we have to do that now and how much more money it's going to add to our expenses.
This is not a new position. It's just a new title for an existing position that allows this person to be removed from the support staff union because they do things that are for the entire district rather than one building. So there's not any additional cost to the district.
And the support staff is in agreement with this, correct?
The support staff is in agreement with this as well. Yes,
Yeah.
I apologize. Yes.
Okay. This is, okay. Let's go back in terms of voting to, board will take action to approve personnel items 10.2 through 10.10. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. Okay, Mr. Klauser and Mr. Vognitz. Okay, any questions or comments about any of those under consent before we vote? All right, and again, this is 10.2 to 10.9, not 10.10. We'll have to vote on that separately. We pulled that from consent, okay?
Okay.
Right, okay, go ahead, Ms. Reno.
Mr. Vognitz?
Yes.
Mr. Klauser?
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Dr. Faulkner?
Yes.
Dr. Green?
Yes.
Mrs. Heater?
Yes.
Mr. Huron?
Yes.
Mr. Reichard?
Yes.
Mr. Brookhart?
Yes. Okay, and 10.10 would be the one we did pull out. The board will take action to approve the job description for the administrative assistant to the director of buildings and grounds as presented. Right, that's the one?
Yes.
Okay.
Motion.
Motion second?
Second.
Okay, Ms. Cooper second, Mr. Vognitz first. Any questions, comments, or discussion? All right, we're ready to vote.
Mr. Klauser?
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Dr. Faulkner?
Yes.
Dr. Green?
Yes.
Mrs. Heater?
Yes.
Mr. Huron?
Yes.
Mr. Reichard?
Yes.
Mr. Vognitz?
Yes.
Mr. Brookhart?
Yes. 10.11, the fall coaching list. The board will take action to approve the 2023 fall coaching list as presented. The motion to approve.
Motion.
Ms. Cooper, second.
Second.
Mr. Huron. Any questions or comments about the list or discussion? Okay. Ms. Reno?
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Dr. Faulkner?
Yes.
Dr. Green?
Yes.
Mrs. Heater?
Yes.
Mr. Huron?
Yes.
Mr. Reichard?
Yes.
Mr. Vognitz?
No.
Mr. Klauser?
Yes.
Mr. Brookhart?
Yes. 10.12, the drama director. The board will take action to approve Abin Johnson as drama director for the 2023-2024 drama production with a stipend of $3,517.50. Motion to approve.
Motion.
Ms. Cooper.
Second.
Second, Dr. Green. Any questions or comments on the drama director? Okay, whenever you're ready. Laura?
Dr. Faulkner?
Yes.
Dr. Green?
Yes.
Mrs. Heater?
Yes.
Mr. Huron?
Yes.
Mr. Reichard?
Yes.
Mr. Vognitz?
Yes.
Mr. Klauser?
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Brookhart?
Yes. 10.13, Head Start Consultant Agreement. The board will take action to approve the nutrition consultant agreement between Danville Head Start Pre-K and Pam Burrows for the Danville Head Start grant period at an hourly rate of $32.10. The agreement terminates on August 31st, 2024, as presented. Can we get a motion?
Motion.
Mr. Reichard.
Second.
Ms. Cooper. Questions or comments? Whenever you're ready, Laura.
Dr. Faulkner?
Yes.
Dr. Green?
Yes.
Mrs. Heater?
Yes.
Mr. Huron?
Yes.
Mr. Reichard?
Yes.
Mr. Vognitz?
Yes.
Mr. Klauser?
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Brookhart?
Yes. 10.14, Head Start stipend. Board will take action to approve a stipend in the amount of $300 for Giselle Miller for taking on teacher responsibilities until a substitute teacher started. Motion?
I'll motion.
Mrs. Heater? Ms. Cooper? Questions, comments? Okay, Laura?
Dr. Green?
Yes.
Mrs. Heater?
Yes.
Mr. Huron?
Yes.
Mr. Reichard?
Yes.
Mr. Vognitz?
Yes.
Mr. Klauser?
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Dr. Faulkner?
Yes.
Mr. Brookhart?
Yes. 11.1, Sea Perch Trip. The board will take action to approve an out-of-state trip to the University of Maryland College Park for the middle school Sea Perch team to attend the International Sea Perch Competition on May 13, 2023. There will be 6 students and 1 adult attending the competition. Students will be driven to the competition by their parents, and the trip will be of no cost to the district. Motion to approve. Ms. Cooper
Second.
and Mr. Reichard. Questions or comments?
I just have to admit, my ignorance as to what sea perch was, and I had to look it up, and I did a deep dive. That is really cool.
I actually had the opportunity to attend this a couple of years ago at the University of Maryland. My daughter was a part of it. It was tremendous. These kids really deserve a lot of credit for what they do. It's really
awesome.
a neat competition, yeah. Got a motion and a second, correct? Questions, comments, anything else? Okay, go ahead.
Dr. Green?
Yes.
Mrs. Heater?
Yes.
Mr. Huron?
Yes.
Mr. Reichard?
Yes.
Mr. Vognitz?
Yes.
Mr. Klauser?
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Dr. Faulkner?
Yes.
Mr. Brookhart?
Yes.
Mr. Brookhart, if I could interject, just before we continue to move on, we did, in all of that personnel, have an opportunity to accept the retirement of Mrs. Hildebrand, who is a secretary at the high school, and she has worked her entire career here in the Danville Area School District, and was even personally the secretary at Mahoning Cooper Elementary School, and I went to elementary school, and she's beloved here in the district, and I just want to thank her for her service.
Great, thank you, thank you.
Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, fine. 11.2, the spring drama production. The board will take action to approve Anastasia for the High School Drama Club 23-24 production. Motion to approve.
Motion.
Dr. Green
Second.
and Mrs. Cooper. Any questions or comments about Anastasia? Ms. Reno?
Mrs. Heater?
Yes.
Mr. Huron?
Yes.
Mr. Reichard?
Yes.
Mr. Vognitz?
Yes.
Mr. Klauser?
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Dr. Faulkner?
Yes.
Dr. Green?
Yep.
Mr. Brookhart?
Yes. 12.1, policy and insurance. The board will take action to approve items 12.2, 3, and 4. And if anyone would like any of these taken out, please let us know. That would be the charter school resolution, the memorandum of understanding for Handle with Care, which is the presentation we heard tonight, and a memorandum of understanding with Bucknell University for a program placement there. If there's anything you'd like pulled out, let us know, and we'll discuss that separately. If not, we'll move forward with a vote on all together. Anyone want anything taken out? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do?
I'd like to talk about 12.3.
Okay, so we're going to take 12.3 out of the consent. Anything else? We're okay? All right, let's move forward with the 12.2 and 12.4 quickly, and then we'll talk about 12.3. Can we get an action? The board will take action to approve items 12.2 and 12.4. Can we have a motion to approve?
Vote. Second.
Mr. Riker, Mr. Vognitz. Any questions or comments on either of those two? Okay, Laura?
Mrs. Heater?
Yes.
Mr. Huron?
Yes.
Mr. Reichard?
Yes.
Mr. Vognitz?
Yes.
Mr. Klauser?
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Dr. Faulkner?
Yes.
Dr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Brookhart?
Yes. 12.3, board will take action to approve item 12.3. Can we get a motion, or do we want to have the discussion? Let's do the discussion first, because we did pull it out, and let's hear that. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I just, from Molly, the training that the teachers are going to get, in my mind, I mean, it's hard even to explain, but it's absolutely imperative that these teachers know that no matter what they read in the newspaper, no matter what happens, they cannot question this child about anything for multiple reasons. And I just kind of need that insurance,
Sure.
because this is a fabulous idea, but it needs to be adhered to the way that.
And that is what we're agreeing to in this MOU. We are agreeing that we will have professional development for our teachers, so we will absolutely follow through on that. It also is in line with the training that we get as educators in terms of being mandated reporters. Now, I would have to share that, especially having been a teacher of little ones before, that doesn't mean that a kid won't come to school and tell you without you questioning, because they call you mom sometimes, even in the classroom. But our teachers will be trained to not ask any questions or not make any assumptions, but truly just show love, a little extra love for that child that day.
If I may, Mr. Klauser, I appreciate your concern. The reality is, I think if we are saying we are definitely going to be providing this very specific professional development, we will then be in a position where we're actually providing more than what we actually do now. And so in some regards, we're not getting as much, quite frankly, under the circumstances, as much conversation around those things. And our teachers already deal with situations like this on a daily basis. They're already reading the newspaper and having to do that. This actually brings more awareness to it, I think. And I can tell you, having been a building principal and having been a classroom teacher, to get a heads up and not finding it out on your own in that moment is so invaluable. And you know you're probably going to find out about it down the road, quite frankly. But in that moment, you know that, hey, this kid's just going to had something pretty rough happen. Because if the law enforcement is going to that extent to reach out to the school, then as an educator, as a professional, you just know this kid, as Molly said earlier, just needs some grace and extra support and love today.
And if I could just comment, as someone who often works with these individuals when they come in the emergency department or the children's hospital, I'm so pleased to hear that you guys are taking a step in this direction, that we are trying to cross as many spaces in the community to support these kiddos as possible. And it's Handled with Care is something that I think is a great initiative and it's a great idea. They need to be handled with care. I mean, that's why it's called what it is. And so I thank you guys for taking the time to come today and talk about that to us, because it means a lot.
One other thing I'd like to add, and I echo a lot of what was said, and I do think this is just phenomenal. The more we can do to bring the proper attention in some reasonableess is huge. Does this warrant any further discussions at some point for any changes or application of policy? You know, we get into the areas of confidentiality, there's curiosity, there's a lot of things that could come forward unsolicited perhaps by a student. Is that covered already somehow to protect everybody's interests, or is something we have to do a deeper dive to explore modifying a policy or even maybe making one? I don't know. I just throw it out there.
Nothing comes to mind offhand, but I will certainly look into policy connected to that and see if we need to make any adjustments and get back to you.
That's a great idea. Yeah, okay. Anything else?
So I'd just like to thank the chief again and stuff, because this is an awesome. Thanks for picking this up. Thanks for running with it. That's an awesome program, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to read this as an approval item. 12.3, Memorandum of Understanding, Handle with Care. The board will take action to approve the Handle with Care Memorandum of Understanding between Danville Area School District, Danville Police Department, Mahoning Township Police Department, and Riverside Police Department as presented. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Mr. Klauser.
Second.
Second.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? All right, Laura, go ahead.
Mr. Huron.
Yes.
Mr. Reichard.
Yes.
Mr. Vognitz.
Yes.
Mr. Klauser.
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper. Yes. Dr. Faulkner.
Yes.
Dr. Green.
Yep.
Mrs. Heater.
Yes.
Mr. Brookhart.
Yes. 13.1, the bus driver list. The board will take action upon the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the bus driver list for the 2022-2023 school year as presented pending receipt of all required clearances and documentation. That's correct, the dates. So we're doing the...
Yeah, we just continue to call it that as we add on
Yeah, I
to
thought
it,
so.
essentially.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. All right.
Yeah, it's just the growing list over the year.
Got it. Okay. Mr. Vognitz, second.
I'll second.
Mrs. Heater. Any comments or questions on the bus driver list? Okay. Laura?
Mr. Reichard?
Abstain.
Mr. Vognitz?
Yes.
Mr. Clauser?
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Dr. Faulkner?
Yes.
Dr. Green?
Yep.
Mrs. Heater?
Yes.
Mr. Huron?
Yes.
Mr. Brookhart?
Yes. 14, board concerns and items for next meeting agenda. I do want to bring up one thing real quickly. Mrs. Ross, is that you? I'm not wearing my glasses, but I think it is. You were approved tonight as the coach of the girls volleyball team, which is a new program. Just wanted to wish you luck and all the girls that are involved in the first year of the new program. So congratulations. Do you have anything you want to say? Okay.
That'd be great.
Whichever
We're
works for you.
excited about volleyball and that you're on board.
So I'm super excited. I have wished for volleyball in Danville for the 10 years that I've lived here, so I think it's great. I think we've got a lot to learn and figure out because I think a lot of kids are interested. So this year will be a learning year for everyone, but I think it's going to be really a fun thing, and I'm excited to see the program grow. I did have a question. I don't mean to put Mr. Moser on the spot, but Mr. Albertson's not here, but I know that practices are going to be at the middle school, and I didn't know the background as to why they couldn't be at the high school. I think there was a financial piece maybe with how the gym was prepared.
The middle school's already prepared for
Yes.
for volleyball, but I won't go any further. That's all I remember, but go
Yeah,
ahead.
the middle school is already prepared for volleyball. There would have to be some work done, I believe, at the high school. Mr. Wynn, I believe it's line painting, correct? That. Yeah. Yeah, so the reality is the middle school is already set for all of that. That's not to say that down the road we couldn't explore that option of moving it to the high school, but
I know from our conversation, like we can only set up one full-size court at the middle school. So with the potential of having a really large team, that just really limits what we can do if we can't have two courts set up for practices.
We could certainly have conversation around where to practice in terms of a meet and like the judges stand and how the holes are positioned in the ground. That is where we'd hold, are they called meets matches? I'm very naive to volleyball. I'm really excited about it, but I don't know anything about it. But we certainly could entertain discussion about where practices are held because we do have volleyball for like gym class at the high school. So there's the capability of putting up nets, just not like regulation court, if you will, if that makes sense, with like the lines and things for it.
Yeah, I know logistically, I think, having a high school sport practice at the high school would be just easier for the kids. So
Well,
we'd be
have
happy to have conversation
We have a
around that.
program, we have a coach, and the other things are a work in progress. So.
yeah, no, I
Yeah.
think it's going to be great. I'm excited for what's going to happen. So thank
Great.
you.
Thank you.
we're kind of excited to have you on board.
Oh, Brian said he can set up two courts at the middle school,
but they're
apparently.
not full size. Okay. Okay. Okay.
There you go. Look at
All
all this. Look how much we're learning
figure
about
it out.
volleyball.
I'll be great.
All right. Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else from the board? Mr. Hero?
Yeah, just maybe one kind of administrative thing.
Sure.
Can we see an updated org chart?
Sure.
Please. Just kind of build that in. If
I just wanted to say the contract with the support staff is currently being negotiated and hoping to have something for the board next meeting.
Mhm.
And that is equally as civil and going well. And I appreciate the support staff negotiating in the same spirit the teachers negotiated in.
Other things from the board? Any other items? Okay, public comment. Anyone? Anything else, Dr. Need?
No, thank you.
We have a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second?
Second, 3, 4.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're adjourned.